Hello, and welcome back to the Unlocking Black History live stream. I'm Kevin Zimmerman. Of course, this week we're going to be talking about the video that was released yesterday on Black August. It's amazing to me as I've talked to a couple of people in different parts of the United States, and I asked the question, are you familiar with Black August? And amazingly, a lot of people are not, but Black August is a significant part of Black American history. So, what is Black August? Black August was initiated in 1979 as a day of observation to honor Black political prisoners and freedom fighters, especially commemorating the deaths of George and Jonathan Jackson, who died in San Quentin prison. And so that's what Black August was started for. It really started not so much as a celebration kind of thing. When they did it more of a solemn type of recognition. But Black August does serve a vital role, and I'm going to share with you before this live stream ends how you can recognize the month of Black August. Okay, so when we're talking about the five reasons, or while I'm talking about five reasons you should recognize Black August, it is my attempt to either reiterate what you're already doing if you do recognize what Black August is all about, or B, give you a reason to begin incorporating Black August into your scope of Black history. Why is that important? Um, you've heard me say on numerous occasions, and I haven't ceased since I started. There is, if you're not aware, a legitimate attempt to erase Black history. We will not let them do that. And so it's my effort to provide you with some tools that you can use to also help all of us that are taking part in this effort to fight against the erasure Black August. The erasure of Black history. But in this live stream, I'm focusing on um, five reasons why you should remember Black August. Reason number one is it calls you to remember those who sacrificed for freedom. Black August gives us an opportunity to remember those who risked and sometimes gave their lives challenging racism and systemic oppression. It was their stories that include activists, organizers, revolutionaries, and political prisoners, and ordinary people who resisted systems they believed were unjust. Um, some of the people that we recognize, or some of the people that we commemorate during Black August, are not familiar names to many of us, but they did take part in the significant role of pushing towards racial equality, fighting against racial injustice. And so they may not be well known names, but they definitely are people whom we want to recognize. Point number two, Black August reminds us that Black resistance is part of the American story. Uh, Black resistance is part of American history. American history is not only the story of presidents, wars, and legislations, it also includes enslaved people who resisted against slavery. It includes abolitionists, Reconstruction activists. It includes civil rights organizers and Black Power advocates, and those who challenged racial injustice inside Americans' prisons. Black August helps us to bring some awareness to those stories and those conversations. Um, when I look at the people who fought for our liberties and our freedoms, sometimes in our average everyday lives, we don't take into consideration the sacrifices that were made. So I looked it up and I asked a question. We hear the name Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but do you know how many times Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested? The number is 29. 29 times being arrested in order for you and I to just have the ordinary freedoms and liberties that we have today. When we look at another familiar name, John Lewis. John Lewis was arrested 45 times in order for you and I to be able to go to school where we want to go to school, to be able to work where we want to work, to be able to play ball where we want to play ball, or swim where we want to swim, go shopping wherever we want to go shopping. Arrested 45 times just in order for us to have those kind of liberties. Of course, there was Fanny Lou Hamer. Fanny Lou Hamer was arrested twice, but we know her story. And if you don't recall her story, please go to my site on YouTube, Unlocking Black History on YouTube, and look up that story regarding Fanny Lou Hamer, because at one point in time after she was arrested, she was beaten and severely wounded, losing sight in one of her eyes, and she sustained kidney damage so bad that ultimately it took its toll. Why did she make that kind of sacrifice? Once again, for me to be able to have a channel like this, Unlocking Black History, where I share a video every week highlighting the plights of Blacks in America. And we should recognize that. We should remember that. We should never forget that. And I have to admit, I do have a degree of concern that the further we get away from the things like the civil rights movement and those activists who fought so hard for us to have the freedoms and the liberties that we're still challenged with today of obtaining, I wonder sometimes if that's getting lost. But every now and then I capture a glimpse where this generation shows that it's not as bad as I may feel like it is. And just because I feel that way doesn't mean it is that way. Also, I want to acknowledge that Black August highlights those freedom fighters and those people that were involved in equality for everyone. And a remarkable video that I made that tells a remarkable story is about one of my, hear me now when I say this, favorite convicts. And her name was Joan Trumpauer Mulholland. Joan Trumpauer Mulholland was arrested so many times that when you look up the phrase, how many times was Joan Trumpauer Mulholland arrested, it only comes back explaining that she was arrested multiple times. Now, Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, if you don't know her story, was or as you can clearly see, is a white woman, and she was, I'm incorrect in saying was, because she's still living. Joan Trumpauer Mulholland is a white woman that grew up in the Jim Crow South, that believed and had a conviction in equality, and humanity for all human society. And she took part in the civil rights movement in an active role as a freedom writer. Her story is more in depth than what I just shared here. And I encourage you this Black August to go look up Joan Trumpauer Mulholland and see what information that you can find out about her during this month of August. Point number three, and reason number three why we should remember Black August is it encourages us to examine the history of mass incarceration. That's important to realize because Black August has a deep connection to the prison experience. It encourages us to examine how incarcerations have affected Black communities and to understand the historical relevance between slavery, convict leasing, segregation, policing, and the modern criminal justice system. It's important that we take the time to learn about those things and what role did those things play in American society. Make no mistake about it. The war on drugs deliberately targeted the Black community. I don't want you to take my word for that. I want you to hear what I said that the war on drugs deliberately targeted the Black community. And I want you to do your own research. There was a term that I learned while I was in the military, and I served 20 years. And that term is trust but verify. I'm asking you to trust what I'm saying because, of course, I am not going to say anything to you, especially on a medium like this, without having thoroughly researched it, uh, reviewed the sourcing of it, and making sure that what I say to you is factually sound. But when they initiated the war on drugs, that was deliberately designed to have a greater impact on the Black community. And you will even be able to see their role in what they felt it would do to the Black community if the male father figure was removed away from the home. And even today in 2026, on just that piece of mass incarceration alone, you still hear today the statements we got regarding, well, if the Black father wasn't absent, if the Black father had been in the home. But what you don't hear is what's behind the curtain of that story, and that is how the Black father was targeted more than a white American male was when it came to the war on drugs. As a matter of fact, even the sentencing phase regarding that was not proportionately equal, just like the laws are not proportionately equal today when it comes to the plight of Blacks in America. So I want you to take a look at that, go do your own research so that you would be more mindful of what really took place when there was an initiation on mass incarceration. Why did they do that and what for? The information is out there. Point number four regarding Black August and why I'm encouraging that you take part in it is because it teaches us that freedoms has always required action. Freedom has always required action. And Black August challenges us to move beyond simply knowing history. It asks us to consider what people actually did when confronted with injustice in organizing. What did they do when confronted with the injustices of our society? People organized. It was educating. You saw protesting, writing. You saw them building communities and demanding a change. I don't know about you, but to a certain degree, I feel that that still is required today. I have no beef about restating it again on this live stream, but one of my major takeaways from the visit I had at the Obama Presidential Center was how the liberties and the freedoms that we fought so hard for and the democracy that we want is not a spectator sport. In order for that to advance, in order for it to move forward, democracy is not a spectator sport. You have to take some form of participation, and I always encourage your local level. Of course, many people often look towards the presidential election, but if you want to have, in my opinion, the most significant impact, you need to be voting for who are the judges in your community, who is your city mayor, who's your local government, who are the people that impact the lives of you and your loved ones right there where you live. Get involved into that area. Outside of the political arena, what do you have or what can you bring to the forefront that will make your community better? Keep that strongly in mind. And point number 5, I'm going to move on to for remembering Black August is that it makes history relevant to us today. That's what Black August does. It recognizes that it makes history relevant for us today. Recognizing Black August isn't about glorifying violence or romanticizing the past, but it is about remembering, learning, questioning, and understanding. The struggles of previous generations can help us better understand, contemplate, and debate about racial injustice, voting rights, and incarceration and economic inequality. And that's what remembering Black August can help us do for today's time. For a platform like this one, a platform like Unlocking Black History, Black August is particularly important because it reminds us that Black history is not simply a collection of achievements. It is also a historical struggle, resistance, sacrifice, and survival, and the continuing pursuit of freedom, a point that we often have mentioned as well. Black August does ask us to remember the past, understand the present, and think seriously about the future. Now, what can you do to commemorate Black August? There's a couple of things that you can do. When it started and it's built to this point, one, some people just meditate and think about what our plight has been. It can be that simple. Just take the time to get alone, but be deliberate and meditate and think about um, the plight of Blacks in America. Where did that start? Where are we now? And where do we need to go? That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is there are often celebrations. There are, excuse me, community events all across the country. And I'm pretty sure if you seek it out, you will find some form of an event right there where you live. Take part in that event. If there's not an event, guess who can create one? That's something else you can do. So, one, you can just take some time and meditate on the plights of Blacks in America. Two, you can attend an event. If there's not an event in your local area, in your community, once again, who is the best person to create that event? Um, Three, one of the things that I'm going to do, and I shared with my beautiful wife the other day, I said, someday this week, I'm going to the Black History Museum this week during the month of August, but you can go during any time in the month of August. Now, you heard me mention the uh, Obama Presidential Center, and that we were there, my family and I were there on the grand opening that took place on June 19th. But if you go there, which I highly encourage you to do because it sits on 19.3 acres and there's lots to see. However, if you go there, recently I've learned that you can't even get into the museum until January 2027. But the Obama Presidential Center is not just a museum. Please keep that in mind. There's plenty to do, plenty to see on the south side of Chicago, and it is beautiful. But you can go to a museum and review the plight of Blacks in America. Or you can go to the library, pull out a book, uh, or pull out one of the books that you already have that you haven't read in a while, or that you want to, uh, or that you haven't read at all, and read the book. The importance of Black August, though, is to get us realigned and centered and make it intentional to take into consideration the plight of Blacks in America. Not just slavery, although we don't want to exclude slavery, not just Reconstruction. We're not going to exclude Reconstruction, not just the Civil Rights Movement, and we're not going to exclude the Civil Rights Movement, and not just today, but we are not going to exclude what's happening today. And we certainly need to be looking forward to where, what can we do to have some influence on the direction of the plights of Blacks in America tomorrow. And that is most important because if you weren't here earlier, I need to remind you that there is a legitimate effort that is active as we are engaging right now to erase Black history. And that was the primary reason that had me to start the Unlocking Black History channel on YouTube. And since that time, I have been making videos every week without missing one, starting of February of 2025 up until the present. As a matter of fact, throughout the entire month of February in 2025, I made videos every day throughout the entire month. But since then, I make a video and I produce a video on Black history every week. And if you haven't done so, I ask you to please go join me at Unlocking Black Unlocking Black History on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel. Uh, View the videos, learn from the information, share the information with your community, and encourage them to watch it and evaluate it and share it as well. I often leave questions at the end of the video, asking you to review those questions and answer at least one of them. And it is a good discussion point. There are good discussion points that you can have with the very people that you're surrounded by. All kinds of people. They don't have to be just Black people. A lot of the information that's there, there are white Americans who had no earthly idea about that information that's provided that I share with you at the Unlocking Black History channel on YouTube. But once again, in Bob, I'm about to wrap this live stream up. I encourage you to commemorate Black August. Do something that has you to reflect on the plight of Blacks in America from slavery and the arrival of Blacks, from the arrival of the enslaved up through the present. And I want to make this point since I kind of stumbled upon it, but I do need to say it. Is that there were Blacks here before the enslaved came. Whatever information you can come up on to strengthen your knowledge about our plight as Blacks in America, that's what Black August is for. So I'm going to leave you with that. I am going to plug one more time that you join me at Unlocking Black History on YouTube and subscribe to that channel. And listen, there's another video that's going to be coming out this Sunday. And of course, tomorrow, there will be Black History Trivia Tuesday if you want to have some fun with that. That being said, I'll let you go for now. And I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care.